Hello, everybody. I'm back for March 2026. My name is Lisa Pesnichek. I'm with the Dynamic Self Astrology for Life. And what I usually do are these monthly overviews. So I hope you enjoy. You can also find this newsletter in written format on my website, thedynamicselfastrology.com. And you can catch up with all of my newsletters from previous months and find information about my consultations and that sort of thing. So let's jump in. First and foremost, we are still in eclipse season. So, what I want to know is how is everybody doing? It's been a lot. It's been a lot energetically, it's been a lot in the news, it's been a lot in every sense of being human. There's a lot of energetic shifting, there's massive downloads and old patterns dropping away as well. So nobody's really exempt from the shift that we're moving through. And suffice to say, we have actually been in different varying intensities of this process for the better part of a year. And when I speak to this, I'm really mostly looking at Saturn Neptune, which I spoke to at length in my February newsletter and have in subsequent ones before that. But we're still in eclipse season, and Mercury is still retrograde and will be for the better part of March. And it's retrograde in dreamy Pisces, which is making our vision both clearer and also more distorted. And that's a big part of this emotional landscape that we're traversing at this time as well. February pulled a decisive layer of woolly deception off of the power structures that we have long been blind to. As we witness the brokenness and shadow that lies beneath the surface of those who we collectively lean on, how do we reorient to leadership? And I think that's a really important question right now. The information coming out of the Epstein files is both shocking and, in some sense, relieving because we know logically now that this has come out and will continue to hopefully come out what we have intuitively always known. And when the truth is hidden just beneath the surface, it makes people a little crazy on some level because our intuition always knows. And when reality and intuition don't match, we have to orient to two split realities and call it normal. And this is the dance that we've collectively been doing for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And I suspect that this layer has been taken off at certain points. And maybe we just put it back on. And now we have to decide if we will fall back asleep to the truth that is being illuminated in our leadership. It is a lot more work and potentially more disruptive to meaningfully speak truth to power. But can we put the genie back in the box? This is a societal power structure, and it inevitably brings some toxic level of shadow. And it's destructive to everyone, essentially. And to those of us who even have no part in it, it's destructive to us. So, how do we heal our leadership and our global community as a whole? Maybe the first lesson here is to listen to our intuition, to trust it, and to give it a stronger voice. Tap into your deep knowing this month. And I think that's a really huge theme this month. What does your gut know, despite what reality says? We have relied too long on what the system decides our reality should be, a series of entertaining moments to steer us away from our inner knowing. It is a great time to turn off the noise and go inside to meet the truth where it lives. All right, so let's get into the astrology. Our first step is the Virgo total lunar eclipse. And I'm recording this on the day of the eclipse. It's actually my birthday. So happy birthday to me. So we're in the second half of eclipse season, and it's a blood moon, a total lunar eclipse. The moon turned red last night or early in the morning where I'm at. And it's situated at 12 degrees, 53 minutes with the moon in Virgo and the sun in Pisces. On its face, this looks like a much less shit stirring event than the Aquarius solar eclipse that occurred in February. The most evident alignment is a flowing aspect to Jupiter and Cancer. So, this brings optimism, opportunity, and the ability to see the larger picture. However, Mercury retrograde is conjunct the eclipse sun, bringing the possibility of heightened confusion, miscommunication, and even delirium. This Mercury retrograde is a potent one, chiefly because Mercury is in the sign of its detriment and fall, which gives it an outside of the box perspective. Mercury in Pisces is not concerned with the cold, hard facts, but rather with the feeling of the information. How does it feel? And is focused on the spaces in between. Mercury in Pisces can inspire great works of art and even scientific breakthroughs because it's able to play with the information instead of take it so seriously in the place where it finds that it lands. However, it is also a placement liable to fall into misinformation and even lies. So keep an eye on the jargon, on the doublespeak, and other manipulative symbolic rhetoric, as well as impressive acts of creativity. And we could see some of that coming out around this time as well. When looking at the dial, we find that the plot thickens as usual. There is evidence of manipulation of ideas and belief on behalf of There is evidence of manipulation of ideas as well as belief on behalf of the power structures, trying to influence what we're seeing, what we're believing, and the possibility for further dramatic action due to a system that is holding on too tightly to what it once was and resisting the invitation to move forward. The old guard is holding strong to their reins, but the universal plan towards human evolution will win out in the end, I believe. The change is happening, and it's happening both slowly and quickly. And if you think about how your child evolves, sometimes it seems like nothing happens, and all of a sudden you wake up and they're a new person in front of you. So that's this process that we're in right now. This eclipse allows even more chipping away at the systems that are stuck in their ways and who are currently obsolete. This is a moment when another grasping finger will be required to release and let go, making a bit more room for the future to grow in its place. And this could be also on a personal level where we're letting go of one more piece of something that's slipping away that needs to go. We're able to understand in a more abstract sense or a more felt sense why that needs to happen. So listen to your dreams around this time as well. The dreamscape for this entire month is rich. Tap in, record your dreams if you can, and listen to what that area has to say. Also, take a look at your chart to see what you have at or nearby 12 or 13 of the mutable signs. And that includes Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. Next, we have Jupiter stationing direct on March 10th. It stations direct at 15 degrees Cancer, 5 minutes. And it's always a relief to have the great benefic, which is Jupiter, direct in the sky, especially when it's in such a life giving sign such as Cancer. Although it will take a bit to get moving forward, forward moving Jupiter and Cancer can bring hope and healing to the world, potentially, and providing a much needed sense of release and balm to those who need it. At its point of stationing, the Sun and Mercury are in a flowing aspect to Jupiter, emphasizing the opportunity for manifestation and bringing ideas into form. However, there's also an immense pressure to look more deeply into the power structures that be. The question at this time is whether the powers that be will be able to slither out of the spotlight with flashy distractions, which one could say is this war that's happening, or will they have to pay the piper in vulnerability and honesty, which the we still don't know. So, with Jupiter so closely conjunct with the TMP Chronos, there is the possibility that the leadership actually could have the upper hand for the coming months. As stated prior, this could involve creative means of distraction and or pulling at the heartstrings of the general public. Collectively, we are likely to be having the wool pulled over our eyes in the coming months. So use that intuition, the logic that I was speaking to. It's really not going to get us where we need to go at this moment in time. That's going to change. But this month, the real the real power comes from listening to our higher self, listening to God, to source, to whatever you call the higher energy that we're all encompassed within. So, additionally, Jupiter will be making its way through Cancer and ingressing into Leo on June 29th, 2026, which is actually coming up pretty quickly. And this ingress will mark the decisive shift of the social and modern planets, so the slower moving planets, into yang signs, which are fire and air, and out of the yin signs, which they've been in strongly for many years, which are water and earth. So enjoy the watery goodness of Jupiter and Cancer while it lasts. Once Jupiter ingresses into Leo, life on Earth will move at a notably quicker pace. So look at your charts to see what you have situated at or around 15 degrees of the cardinal signs, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. You'll be feeling this transit most intimately. And then we have the Pisces new moon, which takes place on March 18th at 9:23 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and is situated at 28 degrees, 27 minutes in Pisces. While a Pisces new moon is a dreamy and creative new moon highlighting compassion and universality, this new moon is actually quite heavy and filled with consequences. It's located at the end of Pisces. So the new moon is really quite close with this still operational Saturn conjunct Neptune that was exact in February. Not only is the new moon, the sun and the moon, connected to Saturn and Neptune through aspect, but also through declination, making this a stronger connection. We could find that we are contending with our elusive naivety, so much so that when reality makes itself seen, the rug is metaphorically pulled out from underneath us. If new moons are moments of stating intentions and planting seeds, this one insists upon being rooted in the process of releasing, of allowing the toxins that have built up personally and collectively to be composted in service to our dreams for the future. At this time, we again stand upon the threshold of the end and the beginning, of death and new life. We have been contemplating this process for over a year now. And this new moon really pushes us further into an understanding that we absolutely cannot go back to where things were before. I believe that this really began in 2020, this whole process. We are summoned, we were summoned onto a journey towards the unknown, whether we knew it or not. Timelines split at that moment in ways that we could not fathom, and we're still fully not cognizant of. Yet the plot line persisted. Even though the pandemic dwindled, the call to step into a new form did not. If you're feeling all the feels at this moment, you are right on time. If the apparent disembodiment, the quickened frequencies, the discombobulation is more than you had bargained for, do not make a move. Stay right where you are because you are in the magic of the moment. This is where we shift from past to future. This is where we will hear the higher self, where we will hear source, God whisper to us, trust the process. Breathe. And do not put a label on it. Stay out of the thinking monkey mind and be with it. It will not destroy you. It is medicine, it is wisdom, and it is how we release the density that humanity has been bogged down with for countless years. As I tell my yoga students constantly, Be curious about the discomfort. It is all just information. And it is all temporary in the larger scheme of things. Being human is school for the soul, and learning is the entire point of what we do here. So stay curious. Then on March 20th, Mercury will complete its retrograde cycle and station direct at 8 degrees Pisces, 29 minutes. Phew. At this point, we should begin to gain a sense of quote unquote normalcy in our lives. With eclipse season completed, which was marked by the Pisces new moon, which I just spoke to, and now Mercury retrograde unwinding itself, we can step less precariously through the world. This doesn't mean that everything will be fixed by any means, but the mystical trickster energy could be a bit more tamed down. It should be noted that Mercury will be in a conjunction and also parallel with Mars, which their perfected on March 15th, so a couple days prior. And they will also meet up again on April 20th once Mercury speeds up. But at this moment, and also into the future, they're in this prolonged dance throughout Mercury's station direct. What this means is that words can cut. Anger and heated discussion could be highlighted, and that could be because things are just feel so uncontrollable. Be sure to watch what you say at this time, especially if you have a Mercury Mars hard aspect in your own chart. And finally, we have the vernal equinox or Aries ingress that takes place on March 20th when the sun enters the zodiacal sign of Aries. This signals the beginning of spring and a time of equal day and night. Ancient cultures built structures to honor this balance of day and night, also ushering in months with greater sunlight in the northern hemisphere. The sun is central to our orientation to life here on planet Earth. With more sunlight, we are able to comfortably be outside more often to connect with one another. And arguably, more importantly, we're able to till, plant, and nurture plants and animals that will in turn sustain human life. Honor what gives you life. With the basics of food and shelter taken care of, we are able to settle into other sources of nourishment. What does that look like for you? What feeds your soul? So in closing, there is a lot of sensitivity and vulnerability, as well as clear insight in the air this month. Don't shy away from what feels like too much or inflicts too much discomfort, but also listen to your boundaries and take good care of yourself. This is a time when we are birthing new consciousness. The birthing process is anything but comfortable. We all know that. This is a time to both soften into the contractions and confidently trust the path forward and trust that it is the correct one. Our intuition always knows the way. It is time to turn off our logical minds so that we can feel into this next stage of transformation. What are the subtle signs? How does it make us feel? Where does our foot naturally land as we make our next step? No planning, no determined outcomes. We cannot depend upon past data to get us to where we are headed. There is a frequency all on its own that will lead us to where we need to go. We must soften and trust in order to find the untrodden pathway. That is what this month is about. Blur your eyes and mind. Ignore the outdated warning signs and enjoy the journey. So much love. To each and every one of you, I'll see you next month. See you then. Bye.